What's up, YouTube? It's Jake, the Ticket Leprechaun, and I have another guest in my baseball room. This guy, you guys have heard me talk about him a lot. It's his first time on YouTube. He comments on my things sometimes, and even a section of my collection is named after him. It is the Drew. Welcome to the channel, Drew.
Thanks, sir. It's good to be here. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to finally get you on my channel so we can have a chat. I know we talked about it before, and when you said you were coming into town to visit, and you were like, man, I think it would be really cool to do a video. I was super excited to get you on here.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's been a good time. It's been a good day, and I just really appreciate the opportunity. So
awesome, man. So what I wanted to kind of share with you guys, a lot of us talk about documenting our collecting story and how it all come about, and it's a cool way to kind of document your life. And Drew and I have become good friends through collecting. So I wanted to tell the stories of kind of how we got to know each other, how we met, and how we've kind of become best friends. I guess it's been over a few years now, man.
Yeah, probably 4, maybe 5 years even we've known each other.
Yeah. So I'll let you start. Kind of what you thought, how we met, where we met, and what transpired there.
All right. Well, I live in Georgia. Jake's North Carolina, you probably know, and I've got a friend that I met who's a dealer at a circuit of card shows, and he and I became friends through a different show. But anyway, he was going to be at the show in Charlotte, and he had asked me, hey, you want to come up, check out the show in Charlotte, and you can help me out at the booth. I thought it'd be super cool. I love meeting people, love talking cards, whatever. So I went up, and so he and I were doing his booth, typical card show, and Jake comes up with another friend of Jake's, and he's looking for 59s, I think, at the time.
Yeah, I was
looking 59s.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm all about it. So I know my friend's layout, and he has his list, and so we start flipping through comments, looking at lists, and just start chatting it up. And I'm all about connection, people connection, store connection, card connection, and just through some conversation, got to know each other a little bit, both Jake and this other guy, and exchanged phone numbers.
Yep.
And it's funny because even today, even all these years later, all I knew was there was 2 young guys here. One's name was Jake, and he collected cards, and the other guy collected autos. So as I put your name in my phone, it was Jake the Card Kid, and you were still Jake the Card Kid when it pops up when you text or call.
That's
or whatever.
awesome.
I never actually put your last name in, although I do know what it is. So that's how we met all those years ago, and then just stayed connected through collecting, and then found out more about each other, about shared interests, histories, life stuff. Actually, Jake grew up, I don't know how far it is, maybe an hour.
Yeah, about an hour.
About an hour from where
you're
I am. And just through some different opportunities and stuff, we've connected. Typically about baseball, but we always talk about life.
Absolutely. Yeah, so Drew, like I said, follows my channel, and we've got to know each other really well. And for anybody that's new to my channel and you don't know this, I am a Christian, and I try to share a Bible verse on a lot of my videos. And Drew is also a fellow Christian, and I asked him if he would do the honor of sharing a Bible verse that he chose today. So I'm going to put him on the spot here and have him share something that he would like to share. So go ahead, Drew.
Well, the first one that pops in my mind, and I hate to use it again, but Jake actually contacted me one time and said, what's your favorite Bible verse? I was at work. I told him, and then the video he put out later that day had it on, but that's the one that pops in my mind. 1 Peter 5:7, you cast all your cares upon him, meaning God, because he cares for you. And that verse has always been an impact for me because God, the creator of the universe and everything out there, cares enough about me that he'll still listen to me, even though I seem so small and insignificant compared to most everything, especially the universe. So yeah, I would go with 1 Peter 5:7 as my go-to. Don't forget this one.
Yeah, and that's a good one. I think that's a good one to share. And like you said, he's the master of the universe, and he has a plan for everything, and he pulls things together for a reason. I think it wasn't by chance that we just happened to meet at a card show and happened to share a faith together. you know, I think that our friendship was intentional, that it was meant to happen, and
That was good.
now it's crazy to think it's been, you know, like you said, a few years now. We've been to each other's houses, checked out each other's card rooms, which one day I'm gonna get Drew to share his on YouTube. It's very impressive. Take my word for it. But been able to do that together, and we got to spend the day together, go to a card show.
Yeah, it was nice.
Do a lot of fun stuff. So tell everybody out there kind of what you're passionate about in collecting, what you have done, and kind of where you're at now. Give me the full timeline.
The full storyline. Well, I'll try not to because I'm old and it'll take a long time. But basically, I grew up like a lot of people. Started collecting. First collection I ever had. I'll tell you this because it's a story. In 1978, my older brother, I was 5 at the time and he was 7, had an accident, and unfortunately it left him blind in one eye. But as he was recovering, he was brought by an associate pastor from our church a box of baseball cards. Well, we had very little money growing up. I didn't know what baseball cards were. My brother certainly didn't, and he opened those packs. Well, they were 1978 tops, and that was all the cards we had for probably, I don't know, 4 years or so. And I knew all the stats and all these players. That's where I learned the game, was reading the stuff. If you know anything about the 78 tops, there's actually a game on the back of that card, and we would play the game, and I learned different players and teams and this and that. And that's where the seed, so to speak, of collecting and love for baseball started. And then when I got up older into the 80s, I got into, you know, cassettes and all this other stuff. I never got caught up too much in the whole rookie craze thing. But then by the early 90s, I was up in college and really got into pack popping and spent many a dollar and time in card shops and in that massive craze. Then there was the crash. I kind of got out of it for a while. And then somewhere around 2000 or so, 2001, I was offered a binder of what I called old cards for a certain amount of money, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? I never thought I would own anything old in my mind. And I bought this binder and I went through it, and it was my first experience of what I would call vintage cards. Most of them were from the 70s, early 70s, but these were guys that were now, in my mind, I mean, they were all Hall of Famers. So Steve Carlton and Seaver and early Ryans and Carlton Fisk and guys like that. And they were in the Hall, and of course I continued to love and study baseball.
Right.
And that got my passion, and at the same time discovered this website called eBay, which apparently
that did come about.
Appreciated me for quite a while there, and that's when I found out that book value did not mean what you would pay for a card. And I started getting into older stuff, and around that time I put together a 55 top set, card by card, my first vintage set. And the reason I picked that, being naive, was, well, there's no mantle in it, how hard could it be? And later I found out Roberto Clemente's in that, but I did get it, I did complete it, and anyway, it just continued from there. I ended up getting married in 2005, and my wife has been phenomenal. She doesn't care.
Hi, Nancy.
Nancy Drew, easy to remember. So anyway, she's been phenomenal. What do you want? You know, and I would say, well, I really like this card. I'm a low grade kind of collector, and she would always buy more or higher graded cards than what I would buy, because she's like, well, if you're going to get this, we don't want that with that stain or tear or whatever. So so some of my best conditioned cards came from my wife, and she's been a huge support. Anyway,
that's awesome. I'm sure a lot of guys out there in YouTube land are jealous that Nancy will buy cards to your collection for you.
Well, I definitely can go into my room and be like, yep, that one, that one, that one. Yep. Know which ones they came from. So, but anyway, I continued on. I built a few more sets, and like a lot of guys, you start to accumulate. And I have 4 children, and I don't know how much you want me to go into this, where I am now, and why you have something called the Drew.
Well, everybody kind of knows a little bit about it, so it's fine.
Okay, so last summer, my wife had to have emergency heart surgery, and she's fine, everything's good, but it got me to thinking that if something ever happened to me, my collection, as vast as it was, would actually probably be a burden for my family, of how to sell it, how to get rid of it. While there's people they know, such as Jake and others, that could help, it would still be a burden to deal with. And I realized that, like we talked about earlier off camera, you know, it's about the chase, it's about the journey. And I realized that my journey hadn't come to an end, but as far as accumulating, maybe that part had. And so I thought, you know what, why not thin out my collection to make it more reasonable if something happened, for me to be able to, for my wife or my kids to be able to get rid of it, get the value out of it that's needed, and not be so burdened with the piles of stuff that's really worthless, but they wouldn't know the difference anyway. And so that's where the Drew thing came from. Jake and I talked and went through his insane amount of lists and came up with what he needed, came up with a price, and it was no rush. It was no rush on me. There was no pressure, I don't believe, on you to do anything. No. But I felt that both of us, or all of us involved, were good, happy with the deal. And I've been fine. I've been looking through some of the stuff that Jake has here and seeing, like, you got that one for me, and I remember this one in my house and all that. But that's fun, and that's all part of it. I still have the cards that mean the most to me, and whether sentimentally or value monetarily. But you know, it's been fun. I don't regret it. My life has just evolved and changed. I've gotten into other things. I still love baseball. I still love the collecting world. I love collectors that I've met along the way. But just as far as being an active accumulator, that part of me at this point just isn't what's going on.
Sure. And you know, kind of like you said there, part of you doing that, you know, feeling the need to kind of thin it out and do some of that, I mean, I think that drew us even closer, because at that point, you know, we knew each other, and you know, we had hung out a couple times, seen each other at shows and stuff, but you know, that's what brought me to your house for the first time. You know, I spent like a whole day there, and you know, we talked multiple times on the phone, and we even talked about other things, but the collecting piece is what kind of sparked that conversation again between us. And you know, I didn't buy anything from Drew today, but you know, now he's, you know, come up, we spent a day together, went to the card show, and you know, even though you're not actively collecting, like you said, really like accumulating, it's still a part of that collecting world. Like, it's still what gave us a common interest to come together, to hang out, to spend time together. I mean, we've been looking at cards for probably a couple hours now, just hanging out. So I think that's really cool that, you know, even though you may not actively be buying like a ton of stuff, you know, you still get enjoyment out of the hobby because of the people that you got to meet and be around and stuff like that. So that's really cool. So tell everybody out there, like, I guess, like, who your favorite teams are, like some of the guys you collect, and a couple of the items that you have. I don't want to spoil everything if I ever get some exclusive footage in the Drew baseball room, but give the people a teaser.
All right. Well, as far as a baseball fan, I grew up outside of New York, and you had two choices. You could be a Mets fan or a Yankee fan. And being the family that I came from, those were the only two options, really. And being from where we grew up, you picked one and you hated the other. So this again, 80s and all that stuff. So I became a Mets fan, was a big Mets fan. In 86, I listened to or watched all or part of every game.
That's pretty cool.
162. I scored everything in the postseason. I think somewhere I still have my score sheets where I scored them. And so anyway, and of course, you know, the 86 and all that other stuff. Lots of fun. When I went away to college, though, I really kind of wanted to change my identity a little bit, and I didn't want to be like this stat baseball nerd at college. And what happened was I took about a year away from baseball and following it just to change a little bit and sort of figure out more of me. And anyway, when I came back to baseball and then collecting, I realized first, I don't care about the Mets anymore because it wasn't the same team, but I still hated the Yankees. And so today,
that was easy to do.
So today, I can watch a game and I can cheer for a player because I like that guy. I like his grit, or I like his ability, I like his whatever it is that he's got on that day. and I can kind of pick these guys from this team and this from this, and it makes the game itself more enjoyable. I don't get so hyped up if my team wins or down if my team loses, but I can enjoy the game as a whole. So my only passion now still is I still hate the Yankees. I don't ever think I ever could. But anyway, as far as collecting goes, when I got into vintage, I did some sets, like I mentioned, the 55 and a few others. But what I really did, again, is I'm a person, a people person. Like, I like to study the people.
Right.
And there was people that intrigued me because of their story. And so I put together some player collections. And when I sold a chunk of my stuff to Jake, he got none of these. So if you go back and look at his videos, you'll see there is a huge absence of Pee Wee Reese. There is an absence of Roberto Clemente, of Sandy Koufax, and Stan Musial, especially Musial and Reese. Those are my two guys that I try to pick up here and there. I've got all their common, or main sets, and I just like them. I liked who they were at the time, their player, where they were in position with what was going on with baseball, and what part of it, depending on when. They have similar stories, but different as well, and so I just really appreciate that. Along the way, I've also become fans of other non-Hall of Famer kind of guys, and I really keep an eye out for them, like Erskine, Carl Erskine, and that's a whole other story of why. But Erskine's become super cool to me, and both personally and then just to watch and stuff, or read about and all this. So that's kind of where I am as far as the modern stuff. During the 90s, like, I don't know, everybody else, I collected Griffey. I still have my Griffey stuff. I've got more Griffey cards than any other player or anything else. It probably now, my Griffey cards probably are about, I don't know, 20% of my collection entirely are just Griffies. But I've got two younger girls, and they both like looking through them. They'll flip through them. In fact,
Hi, girls.
Hi, guys. They asked me, if you see the one where you blow the big bubble, can you get it for me today?
Yeah.
And we did. We spent,
We looked for it, man.
We flipped through those boxes, and we never found it. But anyway, we did look, and so, I mean, that's the connection again. That's about connections, about people, it's about stories. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Cool. So guys, thanks for checking out this video. Thanks for watching to here. As you can tell, Drew's all about his stories. I'm very thankful and blessed to have him as a friend. And I'm going to have him on the channel for a few other videos. So keep an eye out for stuff with my guest, Drew. And we'll be talking about a couple other cool topics in the future. Anything else you want to say before I let him go?
I'll just specifically say, Madison and Amelia, my girls, I love you, and I know you'll probably be watching this with me at some point, but you guys are a huge part of my passion in life, and of course Nancy as well. So, and of course my other two children, Aaron and Ryan, I love you guys too. But anyway, I appreciate Jake. I appreciate the friendship. And it's been a good day, and I just look forward to continuing on, no matter what God's got for us.
Sounds good. So, see you guys soon down there in Toccoa, Georgia. Keep collecting. God bless.